Millionaire stayed silent about his feelings for his black assistant, until he caught her in another man's arms. The elevator doors hadn't even finished opening when Noah Cobb felt the gut punch. There, right there in the dim glow of the parking garage, Nakia Eames, his assistant, the woman he'd spent a year pretending he didn't dream about, stood wrapped in another man's arms. Not a polite hug. Not a friendly squeeze. A hold. A linger. A moment that made Noah's pulse slam hard enough he tasted copper. He froze. The billionaire who could negotiate mergers across continents suddenly couldn't take a single step forward. And that's exactly where our story begins. Hey everyone, before we dive deeper into this absolute emotional disaster Noah's walked into, hi. I'm glad you're here with me. Where are you watching from tonight? How are you doing? And, real quick, have you subscribed yet? If not, you might want to, because this story is about to go places you won't expect. Let's keep going. The garage hummed with fluorescent lights flickering overhead, the buzzing perfectly matching the static in Noah's skull. Nakia's curls caught the light, shimmering like warm fire against the cold concrete. Her laugh, soft, breathy, the one he secretly craved like a man needing oxygen, floated toward him. And the stranger laughed with her. Noah's hand twitched toward his tie, loosening it even though he hadn't realized he was holding his breath. He should turn away. He should clear his throat, walk past, remind himself she wasn't his. She was his assistant. His employee. His everything he shouldn't want. But he couldn't move. Couldn't blink. Couldn't stop wondering. Why hadn't she told him she was seeing someone? And why did that thought hit harder than any business deal collapsing ever had? The man holding her leaned in, closer, and something inside Noah cracked like thin ice under too much weight. 1,000 moments flashed through his mind. Her soft good mornings, the way she clutched coffee with both hands, her eyes filling with warmth when she laughed, the way she kept pushing him to go easier on himself. The late nights in the office when she'd fall asleep editing proposals, only for Noah to drape a blanket over her and pretend that wasn't the closest he'd ever allowed himself to get. And now he was watching someone else stand where he'd secretly wanted to stand for months. A sharp, ugly jealousy clawed up his throat. The man's hand slid down Nakia's back. Noah's heart stopped. He stepped forward without thinking, pure instinct, raw and stupid, but the sound of his shoes on the concrete made Nakia turn. Her eyes widened the second she saw him. Noah, she breathed, surprise flashing across her face before she slipped out of the man's arms. For a heartbeat, none of them moved. Air thinned. Time stuttered. Noah didn't know what expression was on his face, but he felt the heat of it. Felt the tightness in his jaw. Felt the truth he'd buried clawing to the surface with vicious, merciless determination. Who was this man? Why was she with him? And why did it feel like Noah was about to lose something he never technically had, but deeply, painfully wanted? He swallowed, his voice rougher than he intended. I didn't expect anyone to be down here. A lie. Every word a lie. And Nakia's eyes searched his, catching something he didn't have the strength to hide. For the first time in a year, he wasn't the composed, impossibly unshakable Noah Cobb. He was just a man realizing the secret he kept might destroy him. A cold breeze rushed through the garage, lifting the corner of Nakia's jacket as she stepped forward, closer to Noah, away from the man beside her. Noah, she said softly, it's not what you think. But he wasn't sure if he wanted to believe her. Or if believing her would hurt even more. The stranger watched them, curious, assessing, maybe even suspicious, before he quietly slipped his hands into his pockets and waited. The silence vibrated with a pressure that felt dangerous. Unstable. Seconds from shattering into something none of them could take back. And underneath all of it pulsed one brutal, unforgiving question. What happens when a man who's built an empire learns he might lose the only person who made any of it feel worth it? Before we continue, drop a comment if you've ever been caught in a moment you didn't expect, one that changed everything. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the rest of this story, because trust me, it only gets deeper, messier, And far more intense from here. The silence in the garage didn't break, it thickened. Wrapped around Noah, Nakia, and the man beside her like a tension-fueled fog no one wanted to breathe in. Nakia's pulse hammered so hard Noah could see it fluttering at her throat. And that alone nearly undid him. Because if there was one thing he knew with absolute certainty, it was this. Nakia Eames didn't get nervous easily. She was the woman who faced screaming executives without flinching, who marched into Noah's office with stacks of reports and the kind of quiet, iron-willed confidence that could stop any boardroom cold. But now? Looking at him like she'd been caught doing something wrong? Something inside Noah twisted sharply. He finally tore his eyes from her and looked at the man standing at her side. The stranger wasn't taller than Noah, but he had that effortless, easy charm, the kind Noah could never fake. Warm smile, relaxed stance, hands in his pockets like he belonged anywhere he stood. Noah hated him instantly. Nakia cleared her throat. This is... The man stepped forward with a grin. Caleb Vaughn. He extended a hand. Old friend. Old friend. Noah didn't shake the hand. Instead he nodded stiffly, jaw clenching. Cobb. Caleb chuckled. Yeah, I know. Hard man to miss. He glanced at Nakia. You didn't tell me your boss was, well, you. Nakia shot him a warning look, one that said, stop talking before you make this worse. But Caleb didn't notice. Or didn't care. Noah watched the exchange carefully, the way he watched every negotiation, with ruthless attention, dissecting every gesture, every line of tension in Nakia's shoulders, every flicker in her eyes. And something about it didn't add up. The closeness. The way Caleb stood just a little too comfortably beside her. The familiarity. The unexpected flush warming Nakia's cheeks. Noah forced his voice steady. So. An old friend. Nakia wet her lips. We grew up together. He's in town for a few days. Caleb jumped in again. I came to surprise her for dinner. Then, grinning. Didn't think I'd be interrupting anything. The implication hit like a punch. Noah said nothing. Couldn't. Because there was nothing he could claim. Nothing he had a right to. Nakia wasn't his. But God, he wanted her to be. She stepped subtly between the two men, physically closing the space as if she could shield Noah's rising jealousy from bursting out of him. Caleb, she said gently, why don't you head upstairs? I'll meet you in a sec. Caleb hesitated, studying the two of them, and Noah knew, the man saw something he wasn't meant to see. But then Caleb shrugged. Sure. Don't take too long. He walked toward the elevator, and the moment the doors closed behind him, Nakia exhaled shakily. Noah didn't move. Neither did she. The soft hum of the garage felt louder now. More intimate. More dangerous. Noah, she began. His voice came out low. How long have you been seeing him? Her eyes widened again. What? Noah, no, Caleb isn't. You were in his arms. That's not what it looked like. It looked exactly like that, he said quietly. Nakia's frustration flickered, real, raw, and edged with something deeper. Why does it matter to you how it looked? That question hit him dead center. Because he couldn't tell her the truth. Couldn't confess the feelings he'd buried so deeply that even he refused to name them. Couldn't admit he'd spent months trying to convince himself she deserved someone better. Someone less complicated. Someone who wasn't carrying the weight of an empire on his shoulders. Someone who could give her the softness she craved but never asked for. He didn't answer. Nakia stepped closer, searching his face carefully. Her voice softened, threaded with uncertainty. Noah, what are you not telling me? A sharp ache bloomed beneath his ribs. He wanted to tell her everything. How her smile rearranged his entire day. How her voice steadied him more than any fortune or power ever could. How every time they brushed hands over paperwork, it haunted him for hours afterward. But part of him, the disciplined part, the part that had survived loss, betrayal, and a loveless childhood, forced his jaw shut. Because caring about someone meant giving them a weapon that could destroy him. And Noah Cobb didn't get destroyed. He destroyed. Nakia took one more step, now close enough he could smell the faint sweetness of her perfume, warm and familiar and maddening. "Noah," she whispered, "if you're upset, just tell me why." He swallowed hard. And for the first time, he almost told her. Almost. But instead he muttered, "It's late. You should go." Hurt flashed across her face before she masked it behind practiced professionalism. The mask he hated. The mask she only used when she felt shut out. "Of course," she said quietly. "Good night, Mr. Cobb." She walked away, heels echoing against cold concrete. Noah turned his head slightly, just enough to watch her go. And that was when he saw it. Her hand trembled as she pressed the elevator button. Not fear. Not guilt. But something else. Something that told him she cared far more than she'd ever said. Before the elevator doors closed, she glanced back at him, just once, eyes shining with frustration, confusion, and something that looked almost vulnerable. Then she was gone. And Noah stood alone in the cavernous garage, facing the truth he'd spent a year avoiding. He was in love with his assistant. And if he didn't act soon, someone else was going to take her from him. Noah Cobb didn't sleep. He spent most of the night standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse, city lights reflecting across the glass like 1,000 tiny accusations. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Caleb's arm around Nakia. Saw the softness in her smile. Saw the look she gave him, the kind that didn't belong to a woman whose heart was unattached. By sunrise, Noah had made one decision. He would not lose her. Not without a fight. But the universe had its own plans. Nakia arrived at the office earlier than usual, 30 minutes before her normal start time. Noah caught sight of her through his tempered glass door, shoulders tense, eyes down, hair loosely tied back instead of the usual polished knot. It made her look younger. More fragile. And it made him feel worse. She hadn't spoken more than a polite good morning when she walked in, which was torture in itself. Nakia was warmth by default. Silence from her felt like punishment. He could still say something. He could still fix the way he shut her out the night before. But before he could step out of his office, Nakia's phone vibrated across her desk. She answered quietly. And the moment she said Caleb, her voice changed, just a fraction, softening with familiarity. Noah stopped in the doorway, unseen, unheard, and every muscle in his chest tightened. "Yes, I'm free tonight," Nakia said into the phone. Pause. A small smile. Fatal. "Anne." "Caleb, absolutely. I'd love to." Noah didn't hear the rest. He didn't need to. His assistant, the woman whose laughter haunted him, whose presence grounded him, "You came to me with this first. So let me protect you." Her breath trembled. Caleb saw the connection between them, saw it clearly this time, and something darkened in his expression. "Well," Caleb muttered, jaw tight, "seems like I walked into something." Then he walked out without another word. The door shut silently behind him. And Noah and Nakia were alone again. Her voice shook. "Noah, what do we do now?" He stepped closer, closer than he ever allowed himself before. "Now," he said, "we find out who's watching you. And why they want to tear us apart." Her eyes widened. "Us?" He didn't correct himself. He couldn't. Because for the first time, with danger hovering over them, with jealousy still burning in his chest, with Caleb suddenly becoming a threat, the truth refused to stay buried. And everything was about to change. The message, the photo, Caleb's sudden wedge between them, everything spiraled faster than Noah or Nakia could process. The day stretched tight as piano wire. Every second, every glance carried new weight. And tension? It didn't just rise. It coiled. Nakia barely touched her lunch. Noah didn't eat at all. By mid-afternoon, Noah had his security team combing through building footage, quietly, subtly, without alarming the staff. He didn't want rumors. He didn't want panic. And he definitely didn't want Nakia to feel like a spotlight had been thrown on her. When he returned to the office, he found Nakia staring at her computer screen, but her mind was somewhere else entirely. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard, unmoving. He watched from the doorway. He shouldn't stare. He shouldn't want to touch the softness along her arm, to tilt her chin up, to erase the fear shadowing her eyes. But he did. And the worst part? She knew. She could feel his gaze. He saw it in the subtle, slow lift of her head. Their eyes caught. Held. Everything in Noah's chest tightened. "You're doing it again," Nakia murmured. "Doing what?" "Watching me like I might break." "I'm watching because someone threatened you." She shook her head. "You're watching because you feel guilty you didn't tell me your truth." His breath caught. Her eyes softened with truth she didn't yet understand. And then? A knock. Caleb walked in again. And the moment shattered like glass. Caleb's expression was tight, too tight to be friendly, too controlled to be casual. "Can we talk?" he asked Nakia. "Privately." Noah didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't pretend to give them space. Nakia glanced at him, uncertain, before standing and following Caleb to the hallway. Noah's fists curled at his sides as the door closed. He shouldn't listen. He listened. Hallway. Caleb's voice came low but sharp. "I don't like this. You and him. The way he looks at you." Nakia's breath hitched. "Caleb, not now." "No, now. Because something's going on, and you won't tell me what." "I said I'm fine." "I can see you're not fine." A pause. "And he is not the man you think he is." Nakia stiffened. "Don't talk like you know him." "I don't need to know him. I know powerful men. They take. They ruin. And they don't give anything back." Silence. Caleb exhaled shakily. "What happened to you staying away from guys like that?" "That was years ago," she whispered. "And you think he's different?" Another silence. Deeper this time. Heavier. Caleb pressed. "Nakia, are you falling for him?" Her breath trembled audibly. And Noah felt his entire world tilt. He stepped back fast, so fast his chair nearly tipped, because if she walked in and saw that he'd overheard, it would destroy whatever fragile trust they'd rebuilt today. He was pacing behind his desk when Nakia re-entered, her expression carefully neutral, but her eyes unmistakably stormed over. Caleb followed, jaw set. Noah didn't look at him. He looked at her. And she held his gaze just a little too long. By the time the office emptied for the evening, the tension between the three of them had become a living, breathing thing, shadowing every movement. And Nakia still hadn't gone home. She stood by the large filing cabinet, trying to reorganize documents she'd already organized twice. Her hands were shaking too badly to keep the folders straight. Noah finally stepped toward her. Quiet. Slow. Controlled. "Nakia." She didn't look up. "Yes, Mr. Cobb?" He winced at the formality. "I think you should stay at a hotel tonight. Somewhere secure." "I'll have security." "No." Her voice was soft but absolute. He moved closer. "You're not safe. I am with you." His breath left him. She hadn't meant it romantically, he knew that. But it didn't matter. It cracked him open. "Nakia," he said gently, "whoever took that photo, they know where you live. We can't ignore that." She closed the folder slowly, hands trembling less now that he was near. "Noah," she said softly, "I trust you. I'm scared, but I trust you. But I can't abandon my home just because someone wants to scare me." He stepped in front of her, too close, but she didn't move away. I'm not risking you. Her eyes lifted. Met his. Held. Noah, why do you care this much? There it was. The question he'd dodged. The truth he'd buried. The moment he'd been running from since the garage. And he couldn't look away this time. Before he could answer, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, and froze. Noah's stomach dropped. What is it? Her voice broke. Noah, they sent another one. He grabbed the phone from her hand. Another photo. Taken through the office window. From across the street. This time, the camera focused on Noah and Nakia standing close. Too close. Almost intimate. Words scrawled across the bottom. He can't protect you. Noah felt something primal snap inside him. They're watching the building, he whispered. Right now. Nakia's fingers clutched his sleeve. Noah. He grabbed her coat with one hand, her phone with the other. We're leaving. What? I'm not keeping you here another second. He guided her toward the private elevator, placing himself between her and every angle of exposure. She didn't resist. Didn't question. Just followed his lead, and trust shimmered between them like electricity. He pressed the elevator button, jaw tight. Nakia, he said without turning, you're staying with me tonight. Where no one can get near you. Her breath caught, fear, yes, but something else flickered too. Something warm. Something dangerous. And then she whispered the words that burned through him like a fuse. Okay. I want to feel safe. With you. The doors opened. They stepped inside. And for the first time, they were alone with no office walls, no witnesses, no Caleb, no boundaries. Just him. Just her. And the truth neither could run from anymore. If you're still here, drop a quick "this is getting good" in the comments, and if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the moment to do it. You do not want to miss what comes next. The private elevator hummed softly as it rose, smooth, silent, insulated from the chaos of the world below. But inside its sleek glass walls, the atmosphere was anything but calm. Nakia stood pressed against the back railing, her breath coming in shallow, uneven waves. Noah stood inches in front of her, one hand braced against the glass beside her head, not trapping her, but guarding her, shielding her, keeping anything dangerous from getting close. Except, he was the danger. Not to her safety. To his own tightly chained heart. Nakia, he said quietly, still facing forward as the elevator climbed. If at any point you want me to stop, to back off, to give you space, just say the word. Her voice was barely audible. I know. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full, heavy, thick with emotions neither had spoken aloud. She lifted her gaze to him. Noah, earlier, you said someone wants to tear us apart. Her voice trembled. You said us. Why? His throat worked. He looked away, only for a second, but she saw the truth flickering behind his control. I shouldn't have said that, he murmured. But you did. The moment stretched. Nakia swallowed. Are you hiding something from me? He turned his head slowly toward her, and his eyes, usually unreadable, impenetrable, were different now. Raw. Tormented. Cornered by truth. Nakia, he said softly, the reason someone left that message, the reason they think you don't know something. The elevator dinged softly as it reached the top floor. Is because you don't. The doors opened into Noah's penthouse, a space filled with dark wood, clean lines, and the sweeping skyline beyond. But neither of them moved. Nakia's voice came out in a whisper. Then tell me. Noah exhaled slowly, stepped back, and motioned for her to follow him inside. The penthouse was breathtaking, but Nakia barely looked at it. Her focus stayed glued to Noah, every shift in his shoulders, every flicker in his eyes, the tension rolling off him like heat. He walked to the window, back to her, hands gripping the edge of the frame. Nakia, he said quietly, there's a part of my life I've kept off the record. Away from the company. Away from the world. Her stomach tightened. Why? Because it's dangerous. Dangerous, how? He closed his eyes, a long, waited moment, before he turned to face her. My father. He swallowed. He wasn't who people think he was. And there are people, old enemies, who've been watching my life for years. Waiting for a weakness. Nakia stepped closer. What does that have to do with me? He met her gaze, finally, directly. And the truth was written across his face before he even said it. You're my weakness, he whispered. The words hit her like a shock to the lungs. She felt her breath fracture, felt her heart leap up so violently it almost hurt. Noah. I tried to stay away, he said. I tried to keep everything between us strictly professional. But you. His voice broke slightly. You got under my skin. Every day. Every moment. Until I realized I was compromised. Nakia stared at him, stunned. Nakia, someone is watching you because of me. Because they think you matter to me. More than you should. Her heart pounded. And do I? He looked at her like she already knew the answer. Yes, he said softly, fiercely. More than anything. The air thickened around them, electric, breathless, unbelievable. But then. Her phone buzzed. She flinched. Noah grabbed it from the counter instantly, checking the screen before handing it to her. His jaw tightened. It's Caleb, he muttered. Her breath stilled. Her heart didn't. The message preview read. Are you safe? Where are you? Call me. Nakia pressed her hand to her forehead. Oh God. I completely forgot I was supposed to meet him tonight. Jealousy flared deep inside Noah, but this time, he didn't hide it. You're not going anywhere near that man tonight. She frowned. Caleb isn't the enemy. Noah's expression darkened. He isn't the one taking photos of you in the dark, no. But he is making you vulnerable. Distracted. And tonight? That's enough to put you at risk. That's not fair, she whispered. He stepped closer, slow, deliberate. No. What's not fair is you being dragged into my world. What's not fair is someone threatening you because of me. And what's really not fair? He exhaled. Is that I can't stand the thought of you with him. Her breath caught. Noah. A vibration on the kitchen island cut her off. Noah turned, expecting another text from Caleb. But it wasn't. It was an email. From an unknown address. Sent to Nakia. He clicked the preview. Thought you should see what he's really been hiding. His blood went cold. Attached was a video file. Nakia's voice trembled. Play it. No, he said instantly. Play it, Noah. He did. The video opened on grainy footage, older, years old, of a warehouse. A man being escorted by 2 armed guards. A man Noah recognized instantly. His father. Nakia covered her mouth. Noah. The camera zoomed in. Noah's father exchanged something, a briefcase, with a man whose face wasn't shown. Illegal. Dangerous. The kind of dealings that could destroy reputations. And families. Then the video cut to a still frame. A younger Noah. Standing outside a black car. Looking furious. Looking trapped. Looking like he was being forced to participate in something he wanted no part of. Nakia turned to him slowly. Noah, is this real? He closed his eyes. Yes. Her heart sank. You said your father, your past, was dangerous. Tears filled her eyes. You didn't tell me how dangerous. Nakia. Why didn't you tell me, she whispered. Because it's over, he said desperately. I broke from that world the second he died. I built something clean. Honest. And I promised myself I'd never drag anyone innocent into that darkness. She took a shaky step back. And that's why you stayed away from me. Yes. He swallowed hard. I wasn't protecting myself. I was protecting you. Her voice cracked. Noah, I needed the truth. I know. I deserved it. I know. And someone sent this because they're trying to tear us apart. Yes. She covered her face with her hands, breathing unevenly, trembling, overwhelmed. Noah stepped forward instinctively, but stopped himself. Nakia, his voice broke. Please look at me. Slowly, she lowered her hands. Tears glistened on her lashes. Noah, she whispered, what else haven't you told me? He opened his mouth. But a sudden crash shattered the moment. Glass. Shattering. Hard. Nakia jumped. Noah spun around toward the far wall of windows. A rock lay on the floor inside the penthouse, with a note tied around it. Nakia's scream caught in her throat. Noah moved fast, snatching the note, scanning the words with a grim, lethal rage. Then he turned to Nakia. His voice was almost a growl. They're not after me anymore. His eyes burned. They're coming for you. If you're reading this far, drop a "This story is wild" in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed, because the next part spirals fast. The note was short. Too short. Too calm. She should have walked away. No signature. No threat spelled out. Just a message dripping with quiet certainty. Certainty that whoever sent it was close. Watching. Confident. Nakia pressed herself back against the counter, trembling so hard her knees nearly buckled. Noah, her voice was thin, strangled. How did they get up here? We're on the top floor. They didn't, Noah said tightly. The rock was thrown from the rooftop of the neighboring building. Her breath froze. Across that distance? Whoever this is, he said, jaw grinding, they're practiced. They know angles. They know how to stay unseen. Nakia closed her eyes, trying to breathe, but her chest locked. Noah crossed the room in 2 long strides, gripping her shoulders, not hard, not rough, but firmly enough to steady her. Look at me. She shook her head. A tiny, terrified movement. Nakia. His voice softened, deepened. I won't let anything happen to you. Not tonight. Not ever. Her eyes opened, wide, devastated, struggling to hold on to reality. Noah. I can't be the reason someone targets you again. I can't be the reason everything falls apart. You're not the reason, he said fiercely. And Noah's terror sharpened. Nakia, he said softly, don't leave. Not tonight. It's too dangerous. She turned toward him, and the sorrow on her face nearly leveled him. Noah. A tear slid free. Everything you told me, the danger, the past, the secrets, should have come from you. Not from a stranger. Not from a threat. Not from a video. I know, he whispered. I needed honesty before I needed protection. His breath stilled. You can protect my body, she said, voice trembling, but you broke something in here. She touched her chest lightly. And I don't know if it can be repaired. Noah stepped forward. But she stepped back. And that small, tiny movement shattered him. Nakia, he breathed, don't walk out that door. She swallowed a sob. I need space. No. It's not just you, she whispered. It's everything. Caleb. The threats. My past. Your past. I need to breathe before I drown. The plea in her voice carved straight through him. Caleb stepped beside her, carefully, gently, for once not trying to stake claim. Nakia, he said, quieter now, I'll take you somewhere safe. Noah opened his mouth, ready to fight, to beg, to command her to stay. But her next words silenced him completely. I'm not choosing him. She looked at Caleb. And I'm not choosing you. She looked at Noah. I'm choosing space. And then, with her coat held tight around her trembling shoulders, she walked past both of them and stepped into the elevator. Noah didn't chase her. He couldn't. Not without breaking her heart in a different way. The doors closed slowly. Too slowly. And Noah stood alone in the penthouse. The place that should have been safest. Feeling the crushing weight of the one truth he'd been terrified to face. He'd finally told Nakia the truth. And it had cost him the only woman he'd ever loved. If you're this deep in the story, drop of my heart is breaking in the comments, and if you're not subscribed, now's the moment. The next part is pure emotional whiplash, and the turning point hits hard. The elevator door slid shut with a muted thunk, soft, gentle, almost polite. But the sound ripped through Noah like a gunshot. Nakia was gone. Gone by her own choice. Gone because he'd tried to protect her instead of trust her. Gone because his silence, his secrecy, had finally cost him something too precious to measure. Caleb stood near the shattered window, jaw tight, fists clenched, chest rising and falling in uneven breaths. She's terrified, he murmured. She didn't want to say it, but she's terrified. Noah didn't respond. You should have told her everything from the start, Caleb added quietly. Noah's voice was low. I know. A beat of silence. Then Caleb turned toward the elevator as if preparing to leave. Noah didn't stop him until the elevator chimed again. Caleb startled, stepping back. But it wasn't Nakia. It was Grant Holloway, Noah's head of security. Face pale. Eyes sharp. Breath quick. Noah, Grant said urgently, stepping inside. You need to see this. He handed Noah a tablet. Noah swiped the screen. Surveillance footage. Grainy but clear enough to make his stomach drop. A figure, hooded, gloved, standing across from Nakia's apartment building. Watching. Waiting. Recording her every movement. Noah felt ice creep through his bloodstream. This is from today? Grant nodded. Less than 2 hours ago. Caleb swallowed hard. That's when she left for work. Grant continued. And that's not the worst part. He tapped the screen. The footage fast-forwarded. The hooded figure moved, quick, precise, deliberate. Walking straight toward Nakia's building. Then, Grant froze the frame. The intruder was holding something. A folded piece of paper. Noah's chest tightened. They left another message. Grant nodded. Under her door. A thick, terrifying silence settled over the room. Caleb whispered, she's headed home. And that person might still be there. Noah's heart stopped. No, he breathed. She's alone. And then his voice snapped into something cold, precise, lethal. Grant, get the car. Now. Nakia's POV, hallway of her apartment building. Her hands shook so badly she dropped her keys twice before making it to her door. Space. She'd needed space. Air. Time. Time to think. To breathe. To stop the ache inside her chest long enough to untangle what was fear, what was pain, and what was love. But the hallway felt wrong. Too quiet. Too dim. Too still. She stepped forward carefully, keys trembling in her grip. Her door was slightly open. Her heart plummeted. She stepped back instantly, panic rising up her throat like fire. No, she whispered. No, no, no. A sound from inside. Soft. Barely there. But real. Someone was in her apartment. Before she could run. Before she could scream. A hand clamped over her mouth from behind. She gasped. Thrashing. Terrified. Until a voice whispered. It's me. She froze. Noah, she gasped as he released her. He nodded, breath ragged, eyes storming with fear, and something deeper. Grant stood behind him, gun drawn, checking the hallway. You shouldn't have come here alone, Noah breathed. You scared me half to death. Nakia's voice cracked. Noah, someone's inside. I know. He stepped protectively in front of her. Nakia, his voice was low, intimate, rattled. I'm sorry. For everything. But right now, I need you to trust me. She swallowed hard. I do, she whispered. And for the first time, Noah believed her. Grant signaled. A faint noise inside, something brushing against furniture. Noah's jaw set. He stepped forward. But Nakia grabbed his sleeve, eyes wide with fear. No, please don't go in. He cupped her cheek without thinking, thumb brushing away a tear. I'm not leaving you, he murmured. Not now. Not ever again. Her breath hitched violently. And Noah, finally, let himself feel everything he'd been drowning for a year. He wrapped one arm around her waist, pulling her against him just long enough for her to feel his heartbeat hammering. You matter to me, he whispered fiercely. More than safety, more than fear, more than the past. More than anything. Her lips parted. A soft, trembling sound escaping her. And for a moment, the world shrank to just them. Just touch. Just breath. Just truth. Then Grant signaled again, urgently. Noah pulled away reluctantly. Stay behind me. They stepped forward. Noah pushed open the door. And the apartment was empty. No intruder. No movement. Just a single note placed neatly on her kitchen counter. Nakia's breath caught. You're running out of time. Noah's hand shook with silent rage. Grant radioed for backup. But Nakia stared at the note, her chest rising and falling in fast, painful waves. I can't live like this, she whispered. I can't keep running. I can't keep being afraid. You won't, Noah said. I'm ending this. Not alone, she whispered. You're not doing anything alone anymore. He turned to her. Their eyes locked. Her voice steadied. I walked away from you because I couldn't breathe. But now, I can't breathe without you. It hit him harder than any threat. He stepped closer, barely a breath between them. Nakia. She placed her hand on his chest, right over his heart. You want a reason to fight, she whispered. Here I am. And for the first time since this nightmare started, Noah felt hope slice through the darkness. Not because the danger was gone. But because he didn't have to face it alone. If you're still with me, drop a "this turned real fast" in the comments, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you'll want to before the climax, because it's about to explode. Everything moved fast after that. Too fast, too loud, too sharp. Grant's backup team swept the apartment top to bottom. No intruder. No fingerprints. No cameras. Just the chilling certainty that whoever was hunting Nakia was disciplined, silent, and disturbingly close. Noah stood in the center of her living room, fists at his sides, chest rising and falling with barely contained fury. Nakia stayed close enough that her shoulder brushed his arm with each nervous breath, grounding him in ways he didn't know he needed. But the moment the last guard stepped out, she turned to him. Noah, she whispered, we can't just wait here. Whoever this is, they're escalating. I know, he said darkly. That's why we're ending it tonight. Tonight, she repeated, eyes wide. He faced her fully. He'd never looked more determined. Or more dangerous. They want to rattle you. They want to corner you. They want you scared and confused. His eyes hardened. So we give them what they want, just long enough for me to catch them. Nakia swallowed. How? Before Noah could answer, Grant stepped inside again, holding a tablet. We found something. Noah's attention snapped forward. What? Grant swiped the screen. Video feed. Traffic camera footage. A figure, hooded, leaving Nakia's building. Getting into a car. License plate visible. Face still hidden. But the moment the feed froze, Caleb Vaughn walked into the doorway, breathing heavily, sweat beading across his forehead. Did you find something? Grant nodded. We're tracking the vehicle now. Caleb shot a look at Nakia, fear, guilt, frustration all tangled in his face. Nakia, you're coming with me. Please. This is too much. You don't need to be here for this. Before Nakia could answer, Noah stepped in front of her. She's staying with me. Caleb scoffed. You think you can protect her? Your family dragged this on her. Noah moved forward, slow, lethal. Say that again. Grant raised a hand sharply. Enough. We don't have time for rivalry. Whoever this is, they know both of your routines. Your patterns. They've studied her life. Nakia shivered. So what do we do? Noah answered quietly, too calmly. We set a trap. The trap, 10:47 p.m. The plan was simple in theory. Let the stalker think Nakia was alone. In reality? Nothing about this night was simple. Grant's team hid in the neighboring unit. Motion sensors armed. Hidden cameras activated. Lights out. Curtains cracked just enough to bait a watcher. Noah had fought hard against letting Nakia play any part in this. But she stood her ground. I'm done being hunted, she told him. If this ends tonight, I'm ending it with you. He didn't like it. But he respected it. And it terrified him more than any threat so far. Now she stood in her dimly lit living room, pacing slowly, pretending to wait for Noah's return. Meanwhile, Noah watched from the shadows behind a partition wall, hidden from view but close enough to grab her if anything happened. He couldn't remember the last time he'd felt fear like this. Not the kind that came from danger. But the kind that came from nearly losing the woman he loved. Nakia glanced toward his hiding place. You're sure they'll come? They've been escalating all day, Noah murmured. They can't resist an opening. She nodded slowly, but the tremor in her hands gave her away. Nakia, he whispered, come here. She moved toward him without hesitation. He reached out, gently taking her shaking hands. You don't have to be brave for me. Her eyes glistened. I'm not being brave for you. I'm being brave because I don't want to live in fear. He felt something inside him shift. A deep, aching respect. He wanted to pull her into his arms. Wanted to kiss her until the world dissolved. Wanted to promise her safety with more than words. But the lights outside flickered. Movement. Noah stiffened instantly. He released her hands, stepping back into the shadows. It's time, he whispered. Nakia turned toward the cracked curtain and froze. A silhouette. Standing across the street. Still. Watching. Then. The front doorknob rattled. Nakia gasped. Noah's muscles coiled. Another rattle. Harder. More deliberate. And then. Crack. The door swung open. A figure stepped inside. All black. Hood up. Face masked. Nakia took 3 steps back, heart pounding so loudly Noah could hear it. The intruder approached her slowly. Calm, steady, silent. Noah lifted a hand to signal Grant's team. But the masked figure turned suddenly, as if sensing movement. A voice, distorted, low, came from behind the mask. You should have stayed away from him. Nakia's breath caught. Who are you? Someone cleaning up a mess, the figure hissed. And they moved. Fast. They lunged toward Nakia. but Noah exploded from the shadows. He slammed the intruder into the wall so hard the picture frames shook. "You made a mistake coming here," Noah snarled. The intruder fought back, vicious, trained, efficient. A knee to Noah's ribs. An elbow toward his throat. A knife flashing from inside a sleeve. Nakia screamed, "Noah!" He blocked the blade with his forearm, gritting his teeth as blood streaked down his skin. Grant and 2 guards rushed in, but the intruder was wild. Desperate. Cornered. They threw a smoke canister to the floor. The room filled with white haze. Nakia coughed, blinded. Noah grabbed her instantly, pulling her behind him. "Noah," she choked. "Where are they?" But he didn't get to answer. The smoke parted just enough for Noah to see. The intruder was running straight toward Nakia. Noah lunged. The intruder reached for her. But Noah tackled them midair, slamming them onto the glass coffee table, shattering it beneath them. The mask cracked. Grant moved in, ripping the hood back. Nakia gasped. And Caleb staggered into the room at the same moment, face flushing with shock. The intruder's mask fell away completely. And the face beneath it was one no one expected. Nakia's knees buckled. "No," she whispered. "No. It can't be you." Noah stared, stunned, fury and disbelief twisting together. The stalker was her ex-fiancé. Elias Turner. A man who'd vanished from her life 3 years ago. A man she'd once trusted. A man who'd broken her heart and disappeared without a trace. He glared up at her, wild, unhinged, obsessed. "You should have been mine," Elias spat. "Not his. Never his." Noah moved so fast neither guard could stop him. He grabbed Elias by the collar, dragging him up from the broken glass. "You threatened her. You terrorized her. You came into her home. Because she belongs with me." Elias screamed. "You took her from me. You put ideas in her head, made her think she deserved more." Nakia's voice shattered the moment. "I did deserve more." Elias froze. Nakia stepped forward, shaking, crying, terrified. But strong. "I deserved better than lies. Better than the way you left. Better than the way you tried to control me." Her voice grew stronger. "And I definitely deserved better than this." Elias' face twisted. "You think he loves you?" he spat, jerking his chin toward Noah. "You think he can give you anything real? He's broken. He's weak. He hides behind." Noah slammed Elias against the wall. Hard. "You're done," Noah growled. "You'll never get near her again." Grant's team handcuffed Elias, dragging him out as he screamed Nakia's name. Caleb watched, shaken to the core, before silently stepping back out of the apartment, understanding something he'd never admit. He'd never been the one. But Noah was. Silence finally fell. Thick. Crushing. Overwhelming. Nakia stood trembling in the middle of the destroyed living room. And Noah, blood on his arm, breath ragged, walked to her slowly. "Nakia," he whispered. She collapsed into his arms before he could finish. He caught her instantly, pulling her close, holding her like she might vanish if he loosened his grip even slightly. Her voice broke against his chest. "You saved me." "No," he murmured into her hair, voice shaking with everything he'd held back. "You saved me. If you're still here, drop what a twist in the comments, and if you haven't subscribed yet, trust me, you'll want to before the final part. The emotional payoff is coming." For a long time, Noah didn't move. Couldn't move. He just held Nakia, really held her, while the last tremors eased out of her body and her breath softened against his chest. The police took Elias away. Grant secured the building. The shattered table was swept aside. But Noah stayed exactly where he was, arms wrapped around the woman who nearly slipped out of his life, and who, somehow, despite everything, still trusted him enough to fall into him now. When she finally pulled back, her eyes were glassy, but clear. Stronger. Whole. "Noah," she whispered, brushing her thumb across the bloody cut on his arm. "You're hurt." "It's nothing." "It's not nothing." "It is," he said softly, "because you're safe." Her breath hitched. The room around them was a wreck: broken glass, overturned furniture, clouds of dust suspended in the quiet glow of the living room lamp. A scene of chaos. A place where fear lived only moments ago. But now it felt like a rebirth. Nakia wiped her cheeks with the back of her hand. "I can't believe it was him. I can't believe he." Her voice cracked. "I thought he was gone. I thought that part of my life was over." Noah cupped her face gently, his thumb catching a tear before it fell. "That part is over," he murmured. "He doesn't get to haunt you anymore." She leaned into his touch, hesitant, fragile, hopeful. "Noah," she whispered, "thank you." "For what?" "For not letting me run away. For coming after me. For—" Her voice softened. "Loving me even when you thought you couldn't." His breath stilled. "What did you say?" She swallowed, eyes flickering with fear, but not the dangerous kind. The vulnerable kind. "You weren't the only one keeping things hidden," she said quietly. "I cared about you long before tonight. Long before the threats. Long before Caleb came back. I just didn't think." She shook her head softly. "I didn't think you'd ever choose me." He stepped closer, so close their foreheads almost touched. "Nakia," he whispered, "you're the only choice I've made in years that ever felt right." Her lips parted. A soft inhalation. A promise waiting to be spoken. But Noah wasn't done. "I should have told you everything," he murmured. "About my past. My father. My fears. I thought I was protecting you, but all I did was keep you at a distance." His voice deepened, trembling with sincerity. "I won't make that mistake again." Nakia's gaze softened into something warm and steady. "Then don't," she said. "I don't need perfection, Noah. I don't need you flawless or fearless." She lifted a hand to his cheek, brushing her fingers along his jaw. "I just need you honest. With me. Always." He exhaled, a sound of relief, of surrender, of something blooming in his chest that he'd denied for far too long. "You have that," he whispered. "For the rest of my life, you have that." Her smile, soft, emotional, unguarded, was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. And then Noah finally did what he'd wanted to do from the moment he saw her in that garage. He kissed her. Not a restrained, careful kiss. Not a moment stolen in fear. But a full, consuming, overwhelming kiss. The kind that made Nakia's fingers curl into his shirt. The kind that made Noah's hand slide to her waist to pull her closer. The kind that told every shattered piece of both their pasts. "You are safe now. You are chosen. You are loved." When they finally broke apart, breathless and stunned and smiling faintly through the remnants of adrenaline, Nakia whispered. "Now what?" Noah rested his forehead against hers. "Now," he murmured, "you stay with me tonight." "Because I'm in danger?" she teased softly. "Because I'm never letting you face anything alone again." Her laughter, quiet and warm, melted straight into him. "And after tonight?" she asked. "After everything. After fear. After loss. After truth." He brushed his thumb across her lips. "After tonight," he said, "we build something real. Together." Nakia nodded, slow and sure, her hand sliding to his chest, right above his heart. "I'd like that," she whispered. "No," he said with a soft smile, "you deserve that." She kissed him again. And this time it wasn't desperate. Or fearful. Or stolen. It was the beginning of something whole. Later, hours later, after the reports were filed, after Grant left guards stationed outside her door, after the last remnants of chaos settled, Nakia curled into Noah on her couch, resting her head against his shoulder. His arm wrapped around her, fingers tracing slow, soothing lines along her arm. The city glowed softly through the partially cracked curtains. "Do you think people will understand?" she asked sleepily. He kissed the top of her head. "They don't need to. We do." She reached for his hand, intertwining their fingers. "Noah? Promise me something. Anything. Don't go quiet on me again." He turned, lifting her chin so she could see the truth in his eyes. "I promise," he whispered. "I found my voice the moment I thought I lost you." Emotion warmed her face. "And you?" Noah asked softly. "What do you promise me?" Nakia slid a hand over his heart. "That I'm not running," she whispered. "Not anymore. You're stuck with me." He laughed softly, a sound she realized she had never heard from him so freely, so openly. "Good," he murmured. "That's exactly where I want to be." Outside, night settled gently. No more shadows lurking. No more threats stalking. No more silence between them. Just two people, twisted by pasts, shaken by fear, strengthened by truth, finding something honest and sacred in each other. Safety. Healing. Love. And as Nakia drifted to sleep against him, Noah held her with the absolute certainty of a man who had finally found the one thing worth protecting with everything he had. His future. His peace. His heart. Her. If you loved this story, don't forget to drop a comment letting me know your favorite moment, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next one.